Welcome back to another exciting episode of Joe Catrapalia. That's me talking about building shipping container homes, tiny homes, short-term rentals, and anything else that I can come up with. Earlier today, I was looking into dumpster pools, and I think that this is something that it sounds crazy, I know, but I think this might be the future of adding a pool to a short-term rental. And so that's one of the things I'm talking about today is the returns for short-term rentals and why I'm going with a shipping container home. I've been struggling getting this project really off the ground and moving forward. I mean, we've got a lot of stuff in place, but it has been, every step has been challenging. That continues to be the case, and I've actually had quite a few people ask me, like, well, why are you doing this? One of the things, I think short-term rentals are as I talked about in the very beginning, my first video, that I'm really interested in developing affordable housing someday. And to do that, I need to experiment with some different types of construction, materials, different ways of doing things. I think that shipping containers, it can be low cost if done the right way. But in order to continue to make a profit as I experiment with some of these different things, short-term rentals are, the best avenue for me to take that property and then put it into use. The San Antonio is a great market for short-term rentals. A large proportion of my clients from my day job, which is selling real estate to investors, a large proportion of those clients invest in short-term rentals right now in this market because there's much better revenue compared to price points than with traditional rentals today. That's more true the more unique your property is. And so both from a cost perspective and a revenue perspective, I think the shipping container home is going to outperform. All that being said, today I really just want to go through the numbers and when I was looking into doing this, what I really was thinking about as far as that goes. I'm going to keep it pretty simple. Just going to look at revenue, expenses, and then a very gross return on investment calculation. If it's something, I am really an Excel nerd. I get into making spreadsheets. So if anybody finds this interesting, I'm happy to talk a lot more about it. Although I can't imagine that there's enough of you out there. So probably just call me and we can talk, right? The first thing, obviously, we have to figure out what's the revenue going to be. And the way we find comps today, I use a site called AirDNA, and they have this rentalizer report. There we go. And so this, it's a subscription service I pay for to get these reports, but they actually give you a lot of info for free. I put the address of the property, and when I'm analyzing pieces of land to buy, I do a whole bunch of this. Put the address of the property, you can put the number of beds and baths, and how many guests that you'll have. We almost always will accommodate 2 more guests than how many bedrooms. We'll do that by, we have sleeper sofas, we'll do bunk beds, we'll sometimes put multiple beds in a room. But I played with a whole bunch of different scenarios, and it turns out I think this is going to be, about the highest return on investment, doing a 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. What's really interesting is if you take off that half bath, you actually lose a decent amount of revenue here. And I think it's because, a lot of guests, a lot of people, when they're planning their stays, they're not just worried about where they're going to sleep. They want the full accommodation. So that's something that I actually play with a lot, figuring out when looking at other things, what makes sense to build there, or if you're, it's for clients and they're buying existing properties, would you get a huge bump in your revenue if you added a half bath? And sometimes that's the case. That's sort of what I like about short-term rentals right now is there's a lot of different levers to add value that you don't have in a traditional rental. But so after, playing with my numbers quite a bit, this is the report that got spit out. To me, this is huge annual revenue relative to what my cost is going to be. It gives you an average daily rate and occupancy. And as part of this report, it also spits out, why is this not working? It also spits out these comps for you. And so you can see, like, is the property I'm building or is the property I'm buying, if you're just looking at a home, is it comparable to these? The only one of these that is quite a bit, this one's got a pool. Normally those do a little bit better. But you can see that, the home that I'm planning to make, it's going to be, get an extra half bath. You don't have the pool, although that is still open for debate whether I'm going to add one. But I'm also, my projections don't quite hit this one, so that could be a good part of the reason why. But one of the things I always do is then go through and look at the comps, because sometimes AirDNA will just pick properties that are either far superior or not nearly as good. And then one of the things that I've learned just from our vacation rental manager is the properties that perform the best just have something unique about them, right? And so I think the way that I'm using the shipping container home, if we can accomplish the look that I'm hoping for, I think that it will do that. And so maybe even outperform those numbers, because those, the projections it uses are basically averages. So it's often the case that our management team will outperform those. But just to go through, the dollars and cents of it a little bit. So I took that annual revenue, and usually I'm used to talking about monthly stuff, so mostly divided. But you can see both. So it gives you a little bit over $3,000 a month in monthly revenue. I am planning to use our management team just because they do an amazing job, and I actually think it will be a net positive. Plus, I'm just too busy to handle turnovers and booking and guest requests and everything like that myself. That fee, I think right now it's still 25%. I honestly am not 100% certain on that. Then I've got utilities. I'm shooting a little high, I think. But once we run it for a while, I'll find out. It's not a huge home. It's 1,247 square feet. We're going to insulate it quite a bit and have a brand new HVAC system. So I'm expecting, I'm just trying to be conservative in this. I threw the cleaning fees in here, even though it's zero. The reason that's zero is it's a pass-through expense. Guests pay it. But I've noticed when other people on YouTube have put out videos similar to this about their properties, in the comments, people are always saying, well, what about cleaning fees? You've got to pay that, or you have to do that. And it's just not the case. It's a pass-through. I know some hosts actually even mark it up a little bit and have that be an additional profit item. I don't think that's something we do. I also don't think it's something that people will get away with for very long. I added supplies and maintenance. If you're used to traditional rental type models, you'll think, wow, this is a really low maintenance number, but it's going to be a brand new property. And it's also the case where if guests break something, it can be charged back to them. But in addition to that, I have a maintenance reserve baked into my original budget, and so that will get me through. I think probably the next couple of years. So mostly I'm worried about really more supplies as well. Things like changing out air filters, providing toilet paper, and we usually do K-cups from Keurig and that sort of thing. Insurance, I think this is a pretty solid number for. It's going to depend on my value a bit, and I have to shop around, but just based on what I've looked at, I think this is what it's going to be. And then taxes, I just based it off what I think the value is going to be and the tax rate. And so on a monthly basis, after everything's said and done, it's going to be about $1,400. It's silly kind of to say $1,468, right? Because it's not that exact. A lot of these are round numbers, but somewhere between $1,400 and $1,500 in net operating income, which, you might think, well, I was spending about $125,000 all in, which is an extremely low budget. And part of that is that I'm using containers. But another part of that is a lot of the other cost saving stuff that I've talked about. I don't think I don't yeah, I'm also essentially getting it built for me at cost because I'm bartering some other services, with the builder, so I'm getting an amazing deal on it. So you couldn't really replicate that, but I didn't want to just inflate it by some arbitrary amount, and so using what my actual cost should be, and I even bumped it up a tiny bit, just because we've had so many problems, and maybe that budget's going to go up a little bit. But so with all that said, it's about a 14% return on a cash basis, right? And so, well, what happens if after I finish building it, because I am building it in cash, because I think that's a lower risk. And I say cash, I mean I have put some of the parts on. I've got a credit card at Home Depot that is building up and stuff like that. So it's not 100% cash, but it's not a mortgage or something. But at the end of the day, I plan on going back and taking cash out with a mortgage. And so what is that going to look like? I'm taking my net operating income, which I just calculated, and this is assuming I'm pulling out $100,000 back out. I think that's really conservative because at the just based on a square foot and comps calculation, it's probably going to be worth somewhere between 175 and 200. But you just never know what an appraiser is going to do, especially on a refi where you don't have a buyer and seller. Let's say I pull out 100,000, using 6% interest because it isn't an LLC, and it's a business asset-based financing. It's not going to be based on my credit score or income. I'll talk about why I do that, at some other time, but that's why you see such a high interest rate there. In a 30-year amortization, then it spits out about $600, and you might think, whoa, we're missing taxes and insurance, right? Well, if you look back, talked about it up here, right? So even though most people roll those into their mortgage, we didn't have it on here. So, or we already had it in the NOI. And so even after that, we get about $860 a month in cash flow, which when you compare that to the 25,000 plus or minus that I'm going to be leaving into the deal, that's a 42% annualized return. And this is just the cash on cash return, right? This isn't a suit like looking at, is the property going up in value over time? When I'm using this, financing structure, am I paying down the equity or the principal every month and building equity that way? And so, and it also isn't, any sort of growth rate in the occupancy or rental rates or any of that. And I don't need any of that because this is already a huge return. And, it lets you know that I can screw up a whole bunch and still do pretty well with this project. And we already have screwed up quite a bit, but hopefully, so far there hasn't been any big additional expenses. It's been all about timing, which I'm not really taking into account here because it is all still going to be within year one. And whenever you're doing your sort of IRR calculations, or discounted cash flow, a lot of people will just lump that, expense, unless we're using XIRR, but now that's way too nerdy. We'll talk about that some other time. I forgot to ask you to like, subscribe, and comment. Oh, look at that. Hard time with this today, even more than normal. Also, one of the things I hadn't asked enough is you could share it with a friend. If you don't have a friend, you could share it with your mom. I would really appreciate if anybody had questions about this, put them in the comments. I've been getting a lot of weird spam comments that I've just been deleting. But anything that's even quasi legitimate, I'm happy to hear it. So let me know. Anyway, until next time, I am going to keep making mistakes so that you don't have to.